Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Dillon.
And welcome to the show where we review stories and their movie adaptations. One of us reads the story before watching the movie adaptation. The other watches the movie before reading the story. And then we give you our recommendations for which order gives you the best experience.
Yes.
And this month we have chosen the short story Why Don't You Dance by Raymond Carver from his 1977 book of short stories, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. Why Don't You Dance, the short story, has a 3.66 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, which is a 7.32 out of 10. And the short story collection as a whole, what do we talk about when we talk about love, or what we talk about when we talk about love, has a 4.11 on Goodreads out of 5, which is 8.22 out of 10. I don't have a synopsis about it. I mean, the thing is, it's a very short story. It's 7 pages, so a synopsis might be the whole story.
Much.
So
So Why Don't You Dance by Raymond Carver was the inspiration for a 2010 movie called Everything Must Go. The movie was written and directed by Dan Rush. As far as I could find, it's the only movie that Rush has written or directed. The only other director credits I could find for him were 2 Lamb of God music videos and 1 Theory of a Dead Man music video. Fun fact. Everything Must Go, the movie, stars Will Ferrell as Nick Halsey, a man struggling with alcoholism who, in one day, is fired from his longtime job, then comes home to find that his wife left him, locked him out of their house, and put all their stuff on the front lawn. The movie also stars Glenn Howerton, Rebecca Hall, Michael Pena, Laura Dern, and Christopher Jordan Wallace, who is the son of Christopher Wallace Sr., more commonly known as the Notorious B.I.G.
Oh, I do see the resemblance, actually.
Yeah, I didn't know until I looked up the actor credits, but yeah, Notorious B.I.G.'s son is in the movie. And Everything Must Go has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 73% according to the critics, and according to the audience, 52%. But what matters more than what those people think is what we think. So let's get into our scores.
So my score, having read the story first, what I gave the story Why Don't You Dance is an 8.6 out of 10. And then I watched the movie. I gave that a 6.0 out of 10.
Okay. I watched the movie first and then read the story. And after watching the movie, I gave that an 8.8. But then I read the story and gave that a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay, so lots to talk about. Here's your spoiler alert. We are about to move into discussing the story and the movie in detail. So if you haven't read it or watched it, you care about spoilers, skip to the end when we give you our final recommendation and our average scores. But if you don't care about spoilers or you're caught up with the reading and watching, stick around. Let's talk about what we think of these.
Let's talk about what we talk about when we talk about our ratings. I like the story a lot.
Yeah, we got a close scores.
Yeah, and you said 9.0. You rated it higher than me. Something I subsequently went and read this whole thing, and I gave it a 9 point something, the whole collection.
For the whole book?
Yeah.
Okay. So it only gets better from there.
Yeah, which is in line with the Goodreads scores. With the a 7.32 out of 10 type of score for the story, 8.22 for the whole thing.
So I need to get around to finishing it because obviously I loved this first story. I read it next, so I didn't finish the whole book before we're filming this, but I really want to. Yeah, I loved the story. I mean, I was surprised by just how much he does with so few words.
Exactly, yeah. How much is communicated in how much is communicated in what is left out. Yeah. And the fact that it is so nuanced, very specific to things that happen, very specific details, but not too many details.
Yeah, you can tell it's well crafted.
It makes everybody seem like such fleshed out characters, but it's not that you have gotten to know their thoughts all you're doing is seeing this one snapshot of real people is what it seems like.
Yeah.
You know?
That reminds me, I wrote down a list of the characters. Here's the list of the characters. The man, the boy, the girl, people, as in people stared, but no one stopped. Those people over there, when they say they're watching. And the only other people mentioned is she told everyone. So yeah, nobody has a name.
Yeah.
It's really vague, but again, like you said, specific in what's chosen to be said, it seems like. Mm-hmm. So yeah, after finishing it, I was just like, wow, it does so much with so few words.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think it's mostly just watching the movie after that. It's kind of like, that was so good that like this movie is like, to me, it was kind of like, bleh, you know?
I can see that.
It kind of was, it was so flat compared to how like nuanced and full Raymond Carver could make these unnamed characters feel in 7 pages.
Yeah.
You know, that a whole movie, it doesn't achieve that.
I can see that as a comparison between the two, because I watched the movie knowing nothing about the story, and I mean, yeah, they're totally different. Like,
yeah.
I would say props to Dan Rush for just making up the story for the movie, basically, based on kind of the premise. Of
based on this guy's things being out on the lawn.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it.
That's the only thing, is this guy's stuff is on his lawn.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't
you don't
even
know why it's there. You don't know anything else other than he is selling it.
Yeah.
And there's the tie, as you notice in the book. At one point, the man says, you know, he's like saying, just make me an offer. He says, everything goes.
Yeah, it was like close.
He says everything goes, but then the
goes.
movie's called Everything Must Go.
Yeah, I saw that connection, but I was surprised that with how much they added to the movie to make it like a drama or whatever, they didn't even include the boy and the girl coming and dancing and buying the record player.
Right, yeah. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, they easily could have put that in there, and I think it would have fit in the movie.
Yeah, because the book, I mean, the story's just one scene mostly.
Yeah.
And then the movie takes the premise, but then doesn't include the one scene from the story.
Right,
it's just interesting choice. Because there's even the part where someone comes to buy Will Ferrell's record player, and he says it's not for sale, even though that's the one thing that definitely was sold in the story. I mean, maybe they bought the bed, too, and some other stuff, but...
Yeah.
At the end, she talks about how she's telling the story to everyone about the record player. So, I don't know. That's interesting. But, yeah, like you said, something about, like, the way I felt reading the story is that my mind wants to fill in all the blanks with what's left out. That's what you said. So, yeah, it just does a great job of conveying a certain feeling without overdoing it. And it's like, because your mind wants to fill in what it doesn't tell you, so it's like well crafted around that to make you
to make you wonder, why is this guy's stuff out on his lawn, and it's obviously, I mean, or it seems like something sad could have happened, you know.
And the fact that it doesn't tell you, I like the ending. There's a quote from near the ending when the girl's trying to tell all her friends about the records and the record player that she got from the man that day. She says, quote, the narrator says, quote, "There was more to it, and she was trying to get it talked out. After a time, she quit trying." And that's just like, I don't know, really explains the whole story, where it's like, you know, there's more to it, but you can't really talk it out. So you stop trying, so it doesn't linger on any words or descriptions for too long. It just is what it is. So that's pretty much it for the story. After reading it, I thought, I was impressed by how much Dan Rush added to make that movie. But
and after learning that it's 7 pages, you're like, well, how could you make a movie? Obviously you have to add almost everything. Yeah.
True. So let's talk about the movie. Obviously, I liked it quite a bit more than you did. I think Will Ferrell is an underrated, serious actor. Though there are still some funny parts in it. I don't know. Whole continents of black people play soccer, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
With the kid. But for my recommendation, I recommend Stranger Than Fiction, starring Will Ferrell. I like that better than Everything Must Go. I gave this a strong score, but Stranger Than Fiction's like a 10 out of 10 movie, one of my favorites of all time. A more serious Will Ferrell performance, also starring Dustin Hoffman and Queen Latifah from Sphere.
I don't remember that.
You've seen it?
I've seen it, but I a long time ago.
I didn't think of the connection until we just did the Sphere episode last time. I mean, Dustin Hoffman's a big part of it because he's the literature professor. But yeah, Queen Latifah's in it too. But yeah, I wish Will Ferrell did more serious, dramatic movies because Stranger Than Fiction is one of my favorites. I really liked this one. And then even though you didn't like it as much, like Will Ferrell could do a good job maybe with a better story.
Yeah, something. I think that's, I mean, and the whole thing, it's not bad. It's certainly not bad.
What
it's
did
just
you give
not
it,
great.
6.0?
It's just not great as a movie. And I think it's fine, with what it is. That's my interpretation. It seems like it didn't necessarily, I don't know that it missed any marks it was trying to hit. It just isn't like some spectacular movie, and it's not like super, super deep. In my opinion, it kind of tells the story it wants to tell. And it's like, I guess, where I gave it a knock a little bit is, to me, it seemed like it was, in this line between, it couldn't really decide, is it a comedy, is it a drama? It's like the comedy kind of fell flat, but I also made the drama kind of not be very dramatic, and it is kind of like a toned down kind of thing. The whole thing's kind of like muted and, kind of a medium situation.
Yeah, I could see that. Although I liked the tone overall. I mean, I agree, it's not that deep of a movie. Like, it's nothing profound about it. It's just kind of dark and sad, but I also found it a little uplifting toward the end. So
yeah, it is almost a movie of like letting things go, realizing what your place has been in things, and like how you can't necessarily affect everybody. Also, it's like both of those things is like, you have to think about how your actions, affect people, and you also can't affect people in the same way. It's like it's that middle ground of you can't do both of those things.
Yeah, because everything you do affects other people,
but
also
you can't force them
choose
to
how you're going to affect other people.
Right.
Yeah, and those themes are not in the story. But yeah, that's true. I like that about it. Just don't cling on to attachments or try too hard to choose what you can affect. Stuff like that. The only other shout out I would give is that to Glenn Howerton. I think Glenn Howerton was great casting as the douchey boss guy.
Yeah.
The scene when they're in the public bathroom.
Yeah, and he's later, like, if you hadn't just stabbed my car or whatever. Or
right?
Like,
probably could have gotten your job back.
Yeah.
And you probably never did that thing you were accused of, because that other girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just talking like they're friends, and that it's a funny situation. And yeah. So Glenn Howerton was great as that guy. And I also like that part because it tested Nick when the boss leaves his beer there.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
And then, he looks at it for a while, but then he just gives it back to him and leaves.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Do you have anything else? I don't have anything else. We can't really point out differences between the two because they're a completely different thing.
No, we already mentioned.
We already kind of talked about
the premise is the only similar thing, and it doesn't have the other scene. That can be pretty much it. I liked the music in the movie.
I don't even remember the music in the movie.
Mostly one song. There's like a song at the end that I like. But yeah, let's just get into our final recommendations.
Yeah.
Welcome back. If you skipped the small little spoiler discussion there. You should go first this time.
Yeah, so having read it first before watching it, in terms of order, if you feel like you want to watch them, I don't think it really makes a big difference which order you read or watch them in. My personal recommendation would be to, for sure, read the story, and to maybe add the recommendation on read the whole short story collection.
There you go.
It's very good. They're sad, stories, but very, very good. And I would actually say, skip the movie because it's kind of just it's not bad, but it's better than, than medium. But there's so much stuff out there nowadays that I don't think you need to take your time to watch this movie.
The medium things?
Yeah, the medium things. Especially, which I think I also gave All the Pretty Horses a 6 out of 10. The movie. But I recommended watching that because it's so close to the book. Whereas this is like...
Totally different thing.
It's a different thing, so yeah.
I experienced them in the opposite order, watched the movie, then read the story. I agree that I don't think the order is important at all because they're so different. However, I do think they're both worth a read and a watch. So I agree, definitely read the story. That one's great. But I also think the movie is really good. Just to see Will Ferrell do a more serious, dramatic performance, I think he's underrated for that. So I think it's worth it to watch the movie also. And definitely watch Stranger Than Fiction. All right, let's look at our average scores to see what we rate this story and movie when we combine our scores.
All right, so for this story, Why Don't You Dance? I gave it an 8.6. Dillon gave it a 9. Right in the middle, 8.8. Very good score.
Very good score.
Which compared to the 7.32 on Goodreads out of 10, that's the equivalent score. We're saying it's underrated. Which I would agree based on their score, it's underrated. It's very good.
Oh yeah, I agree too. It's an amazing story what he does in so few words. For the movie, Ryan gave it a 6. I gave it an 8.8. That averages out to a 7.4. It's a pretty good score. That's almost the same as the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is 73. However, the audience score was 52.
Which is lower than both of our scores. So it makes it underrated in both accounts. But we're pretty close, pretty spot on with the critics.
Yeah, I would say the critic score is a pretty good score for it.
Yeah.
But it's underrated according to the average movie goer. I don't know if you were expecting an Anchorman type of movie or something.
Yeah, I think expecting Will Ferrell in a comedic, super comedic role.
That's what I'm thinking.
And that's probably what that is.
That's why I think it's worth a watch, being mindful that it's not, don't watch Old School and then watch Everything Must Go and think like, oh, this is going to be hilarious also. But because it's a good movie. So, underrated.
So let's see then where those slot in.
Rankings.
Oh, look what we got, combined rankings. Why Don't You Dance has immediately after last episode unseated Sphere as our number 1 rated thing. The story, Why Don't You Dance?
Yeah.
Again, beating it out by only 0.05.
Yeah, that's really close.
Those top 3 there, very close race here.
I mean, I love this story, but for some reason I'm also like a little upset because Sphere is my favorite of all of these, and it barely got to be there.
And then the Everything Must Go movie kind of slots there, kind of in that middle section, a little bit, a little bit below. Kind of surprised that it kind of slotted in under the skin.
Yeah, you dragged that down a bit.
But above the Green Mile book.
Yeah, okay. So then I pulled it up there above that. So I guess this makes sense in terms of our combined scores.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a new winner at the top. We highly recommend Why Don't You Dance by Raymond Carver.
Yeah, so that's it for this month's episode. Whoa, not so fast, B from 3 months ago. I'm here to let you know that we're published authors, and we've got some books here. We've written a few books of poetry. I've got 2 here. Dillon's got 1, and we'll put some links in the description if you want to go check those out. And the best way you can keep up to date with what we've got going on, because we've got more stuff coming eventually, is follow us on probably Instagram. We'll put our handles here. And okay, take it away, us from 3 months ago.
Stick around for next month's episode, in which we will read Drive My Car, a short story by Haruki Murakami from his collection Men Without Women. And then we'll watch the movie adaptation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for those of you reading and watching along at home, next month is Drive My Car. And thank you for watching this month's episode.
Yeah, like and subscribe to and hit the notification bell to get notified of our future videos. And we got a couple of videos recommended for you here on the screen. You can click on and see the other videos we have on our channel.
Yeah, and we'll see you next month.
See you next month.
Bye.